Greetings and salutations. I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here to tell you, deliver a very nice, very evil message, if you will.
This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
This is the former intellectual savior of the masses, now known as Aaron Stevens, your NWA third-degree national champion.
This is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the role model, and you are listening to Greg Morgan with Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I want to tell you, Greg, your buddy Howie, also known as Wheezy, as you call him, he told me all about your channel. I'm here to tell everybody that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've looked at it. I went down the rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. It was so good.
Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
Watch them 5 times a piece. That's right, I said 5 times a piece. Do it. I know you've been a fan for like 40 years. I've only been doing it for 30, so I guess we're fans together there for 10 of it. Do it.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Do it!
Good Mic Work is the place to be for all your wrestling information, guaranteed.
The best wrestling content is right here at Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Subscribe, share, love, like, poke, whatever you need to do.
If you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Love that, Danhausen. Love that Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Do it now.
You're welcome.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to your WWE Raw review for November 23rd, 2020. It was kind of a sad show tonight because we had a brutal murder and a tragedy, lost a loved one in the Friendship Frog, and our WWE World Champion Drew McInFart wasn't even on the show. So Raw was probably not going to get a terribly good grade from me tonight. So as we do on every stream, hit me with your letter grades, A, B, C, or D, right over there in the chat so I can see what you guys thought of tonight. There was a couple interesting moments in the night. We had a couple of cool matches. Sheamus and Riddle was very good. Lashley and Keith Lee was an interesting match, even though WWE are the dickless bookers that they are. Just will not ever book Keith Lee in any sort of a clean finish at all. But that was still an interesting match, and the fact that it's the first time we've seen it and could lead, to maybe a healthy rivalry down the road. I don't know. Alexa Bliss, of course, stole the show like she always does. The Lana stuff was a little bit interesting, and we had a great, at least on paper, a great main event with Randy Orton and AJ Styles. So I wouldn't say the show was all bad, but, definitely not the best Raw, of the year by any means. So let me know what you think. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, we're good. I had a super chat coming in right off the bat earlier I wanted to knock out from Divine Ricks. Thank you, man, and welcome back. Appreciate the $5. I think this Orton and Fiend feud would be interesting, and I'm thinking somehow Braun Strowman will be the next #1 contender. Yeah, what they did with Braun tonight did set something up, obviously, that was so random and weird. They wouldn't just do that. I mean, unless they just wanted to get Braun Strowman out of the entire picture, and that's just the best way they thought of to do it. Oh, have him shove Adam Pearce. We can just suspend him and get him away from all these title matches so we don't have to beat him or something, like if he's not their initial plan. But the fact that they went through that, and then Adam Pearce was interviewed and said, I think he should be fired, makes me think they're going to move him to SmackDown or something. I don't know. So I don't know what is going on there and what the repercussions are going to be for Braun Strowman, or if this is a new storyline direction for him, or if it's just WWE's lazy way of keeping him out of this stuff. Because, with a guy like Strowman, if they don't want him to win this thing and get beat again, maybe they should rather not have him in the match. But, they replaced, we had Bobby Lashley and Randy Orton jumping in to be a part of this thing as well. So they kind of did the typical lazy thing here. Every time you have a champion that doesn't really seem to have a full-blown contender in front of them, they always do this multi-man bullshit. It's either a match or a battle royal in the last two face, or it's a series of triple threat matches. I tweeted out 3 full minutes before Adam Pearce made the announcement. Once everybody was coming up to him, I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go with the multi-man clusterfucks to determine a number one contender like they always do, and not 3 minutes later. We come back from commercial. They talk to Adam Pearce again, and that's exactly what he does. So he takes the 4 remaining winners of the Survivor Series team, plus Lashley, plus Orton, puts them all in three separate one-on-one matches, with the winners facing in a triple threat next week, and the winner of that will then face Drew McIntyre. He did not say when. I'm assuming it's TLC, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see who comes out on the other end of that. So I suppose it's going to be Riddle, AJ Styles, and Keith Lee. Next week, triple threat, winner faces Drew at the PPV. That's an interesting threesome because Riddle is in there. And Matt Riddle and fucking Drew McIntyre might not be a horrible match. We've seen McIntyre and Keith Lee. I'm really not interested in that because they're too friendly on TV, and we've just seen it. We've seen it. So, and again, if you're not putting the belt on Keith Lee, don't have him beat. Or maybe don't have him get beat or something like that. AJ would be a fun match, AJ and Drew McIntyre. But again, that's a match that I'm sure we've seen multiple times. I don't know. I think AJ or Riddle would be my picks there because the AJ match can't not be good. I mean, it's going to be awesome if he turns out to get the title shot. And it would be a good quality opponent for Drew to knock off, and just have a successful title defense and run. And Riddle would make an interesting option too. Babyface match, but still interesting. Might be good. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And what Divine is saying there too in his comment is maybe Braun Strowman, based on what they did tonight, he can worm his way back in because they wouldn't have set this bullshit up if they didn't plan on doing something with him. So they're going to move him. Maybe this is a way to move him back to SmackDown because they thought maybe he's better over there for some reason. Or it's just a way to get him out of this completely, or it's a way for him to sneak in the back door and and cash in on an opportunity here. Maybe he attacks one of the members next week. Maybe he gets his hands on Matt Riddle. Maybe Hurt Business does. The Riddle and MVP backstage segments was pretty funny tonight, and maybe he's going to rub them the wrong way. They whoop his ass, and then he's going to be replaced by Braun Strowman, something like that. I don't know, but. Just the idea of just Riddle and Drew McIntyre randomly on a pay-per-view for the title, fuck it. Why not? December usually sucks anyway. I'd be fine with that. Either way, I think McIntyre needs to beat whoever wins that triple threat match next week in the title match. He's somebody pointed out in the chat a minute ago, he's lost 2 straight pay-per-views in a row. It's unacceptable. So he's got to win this next one. So whoever he faces, in terms of who you pick or who you want to see him face, keep in mind he's got to beat that person. So who would you rather it be? Talk amongst yourselves. We'll start rolling through the Raw results here too, bit by bit here. But I just want to let people gather in the chat and see what's going on. Say hi to you guys. Day number 3 streams in a row, which is the typical deal. On pay-per-view weekends, I'm usually up here for the Winged Eagle and predictions on Saturday, pay-per-view reviews Sunday, and of course, we're always here on Monday nights to discuss this nonsense. The best thing I think that happened tonight out of everything was the birth of a brand new superstar in the WWE. Apparently, this guy is already WWE champion. His name is Drew McInFart, which is just beautiful. Fucking Adam Pearce. We'll get to that, but in his backstage segment, as he's kind of explaining what he's going to do next week with the 3 one-on-ones and the triple threat, he says Drew McInFart just as clear as day, like he meant to say it. It was the craziest thing. Everybody picked up on it on Twitter. I even changed my Twitter handle to that just for fun, just for the next week or so. I think I'm going to be Greg McInFart. I think it has a nice ring to it. That's hysterical. I mean, Adam Pearce might have single-handedly changed Drew McIntyre's eventual chronicle on the WWE network one day to a Dark Side of the fucking Ring episode on Vice. If it all goes downhill for Drew in any way, shape, or form in his career, I'm going to look back to this night that Adam Pearce called him Drew McInFart, and the dude just couldn't live it down because it was hilarious. Saw a funny tweet tonight. Somebody was asking to name the finisher of Drew McInFart. Shit shooter. I put, what did I put? Shit-covered, toilet-handled family Gradunza. Something like that. But name Drew McInFart's finisher. That was fucking hysterical. I love that. It was almost like a happy accident, a happy botch there. But at the same time, man, poor Drew. Now he's going to be known as Drew McInFart. Hopefully the fans will get over this. What WWE needs to do is latch onto this and then just hammer it into the ground. That way we'll all get sick of it, forget about it. Otherwise, he might be known as Drew McInFart going forward. Anyway, and that's what WWE fan chimed in to say with your $2 super chat. Appreciate that, man. Drew McInFart, could you elaborate on this? Oh, yeah, I put Drew McInFart in the title. WWE fan, you didn't hear that Adam Pearce called him Drew McInFart by accident. I think he was trying to say Drew McIntyre will face the winner or something, and then it came out Drew McInFart, which is just glorious. So anyway, yes, WWE fan, if you didn't hear that, you missed it. It was amazing, and it saved single-handedly Monday Night Raw from being a complete shit show, in my mind. Drew McInFart, my God. Amazing. Anyway, let's start rolling through the results here. We opened up the show with Adam Pearce in the ring, so this is pre-Drew McInFart. He's in the ring with the entire winning team, or winning men's Raw team. So they're all talking. Basically, he's trying to figure out a way to reward these guys, and he's, talking about them, bringing them up individually. Matt Riddle, they were talking about Drew McIntyre, and Matt Riddle says he wants a dope sword. I want a dope sword, too. He has nicknames for everybody. He calls Sheamus Fireface, and Sheamus doesn't like that. And as Adam Pearce is running through all the names of the team, introducing them and shit, he says, and last but not least, Braun Strowman, and then Braun gets pissed. What do you mean, last but not least? Braun Strowman is a Neanderthal moron. I cannot stand him anymore. 3 years ago, I was in love with him. I had his picture hanging over my bed. Now I want nothing to do with the motherfucker. So he's just, I'm like, his character's so goddamn stupid. If you just shut your mouth, Adam Pearce is about to give you an opportunity to go after the title, you moron. So instead he gets pissed that he was referred to last, grabs a hold of Adam Pearce, knocks him out, and that was the end of it. And then backstage, they would find Adam Pearce, holding his neck and says, pissed off. He goes, if it was up to me, if I'm making the decisions here, Braun Strowman would be fired. So I don't know where that's leading. It feels like, what they said earlier in the chat, that maybe Strowman can come back and find his way into this thing somehow and come out on the other side of this somehow as the number one contender, much to the displeasure of Adam Pearce. And maybe that can set up, maybe there's a way to elevate and evolve Adam Pearce's character as well. Start having him develop actual conflicts with people. I know he has like week-to-week interactions and shit, but something that's, like ongoing. And now he's got Strowman, who put his hands on him and assaulted him. And now Braun Strowman's got a shot at the title, and Pearce is upset about that. I don't know. You got to struggle there or whatever. So we'll see what that leads to. I kind of hope it just leads to Strowman being drafted to main event and getting traded over there. Can we trade him to Corey Graves' After the Bell podcast? Is that a brand? Can we just trade him there? He can just be the sound guy on the podcast. I don't know. But I smell something with Strowman. They wouldn't have done all that if it wasn't going to come back and mean something later. First match of the night was the Hurt Business getting another tag team title shot against the New Day. Now, last week they did this match, and I tweeted out that I really want to see the Hurt Business win the tag team titles, but that was before Survivor Series when the New Day was scheduled to go into to face the Street Profits, and I didn't want to lose that match either. So I was kind of torn last week, but I was conflicted no more. This week I was legitimately rooting for the Hurt Business. I was hoping that they would knock off the New Day here for the tag titles. They approached New Day backstage and set all this up earlier on in the day. And Kofi is even like kind of trying to get out of it. And he's like, yo, Xavier, it's our day off, man. We don't have to fucking work. And then Xavier's like, no, we can't let him punk us like that. And, or whatever. He's like, all right, I guess we're fighting tonight then. So they set that all up backstage. Then they do the match. And we get, what was it, like a double count out or something. Guys get counted out. I think Xavier dove into the ring. He either made it or he didn't. Either way, it was kind of a fishy finish. So MVP then gets on the mic and demands that the match be restarted and kind of goads the New Day into agreeing to that and threatens the referee, and that works, apparently. And the match gets restarted, so by then I was convinced that the Hurt Business was going to win, because I just think all those dudes dressed in suits, carrying all that gold spread across the faction like that, we haven't seen sex appeal like that since the Attitude Era. I mean, that's hot. So I was kind of wanting to see that. But New Day turned the tables, wound up getting the victory anyway, essentially beating them twice. And I guess, I don't know now. I'm not sure if Shelton and Cedric, this is 3 straight title matches they've had that they've dropped. Maybe not. So maybe my dream of having the Hurt Business, decked out in gold might not work out, because Cedric and Shelton are, kind of weak links on the team, at least for right now. So we'll see if this turns into like a 4th match and they're able to win the titles like eventually. I kind of feel like that's what they're doing here, especially after the 3 matches already. I mean, TLC's still a month away, so I don't know how you stretch this out to a pay-per-view match, but a TLC match between these two teams might be fun. But you got 4 weeks to build that, and I don't know how you really do that. It's too far away. So anyway, not sure what to do there. Let me knock out another super chat from Nick Musser. Welcome back, man, and good to see you. Hey, Greg, I'm going to send you a message on Patreon since I don't have a Twitter. Would you respond, please? Of course, dude. I'll respond. I'll look at it as soon as we're done with the stream here. I will check it out. And thank you. After that, we had Adam Pearce. He was backstage. This, I think, is where he was talking about Braun Strowman, says he should be fired. Chuck is there interviewing him, and that's when Lashley appears and says, they should have a discussion. He goes, if you notice, I'm the only champion from Raw that won last night, so I think I deserve to be included in the conversation, and I like that. I've been singing the praises of Bobby Lashley for a long time. I've even said recently that I think it would be awesome if he had a long U.S. title run, like a year. Seriously, like a full fucking year. And then to where he builds up and gets a world title match as the U.S. champion and pulls a Goldberg or Ultimate Warrior and wins the title and is double champion, forfeits the U.S. belt, and, they have a tournament for it or something like that. I think, like, Lashley, to me, all these years that he's been around, he's a veteran at this point, and I've never given one single iota of a shit about him until recently. And that's not because of him. That's because of WWE and all of that. It feels like it took them forever for him to find his niche. I think he should have been coming out there in the suit the whole time. He just looks a little bit more menacing and looks like, more of a badass that way, I suppose. So I finally like him. He's got gold now. He's not treated as a joke. He's not running through obstacle courses. He's not bringing out people disguised as his sister. He's actually doing shit that matters, and he's been booked strongly. And I would love for him to get to that point, challenge Drew McIntyre and beat him. Just not right now. Like, I really hope that they can have Lashley just kind of on the side with that title, stacking up and piling up win after win after win, maybe even quietly. Just full Nelson motherfuckers left and right on Raw. It doesn't have to be big, huge stars or anything like that, but just beating people regularly to where several weeks later we're like, Bobby Lashley's on a fucking tear right now. And then maybe you can build something up for like SummerSlam or something where he gets a big title shot and win. Like, I want that for Bobby Lashley so bad because this is a guy that I felt WWE had potential to make as believable and as credible as like a Brock. Maybe not as credible as Brock, but close. And they've failed miserably at it. So I feel like this is their chance. And I'm just, how those of you who've been following this podcast for a long time, I always latch on to people. Sometimes people will sometimes it's Bianca Belair or it's Asuka or whatever, or Braun Strowman like years ago, or how Roman Reigns is now. My guy right now is Bobby Lashley. He's that guy that I'm just kind of really hoping the best for. I'm not that optimistic because I don't trust WWE to do anything right. But, I feel like if they ever had a chance to ever make Bobby Lashley a world champion and a believable world champion at that, I feel like this is really their last chance. It's their last chance. If they can't, hit a home run here with him now, it's just not in the cards for him. And I think he deserves to have a chance. Look at him. Dude's a freaking monster. So anyway, that's my I Love Bobby Lashley segment of the show tonight. After that, they went to a commercial. They came back, and Adam Pearce is still there being interviewed by Chuck. And after he dealt with Bobby Lashley, he said, we had a conversation. We came to an understanding. He's then approached by Randy Orton, who also wants in on the action. And that's when he announces that there's going to be 3 separate one-on-one matches. He didn't say what they were right away. And the winner of those 3 matches would face in a triple threat next week, and the winner would face Drew McInFart, apparently at the pay-per-view. So that's what he had to say there. And the first triple threat match we got was up next. Matt Riddle taking on Sheamus. And man, these guys work so good together. It's a match we've seen a couple of times now, at least 2 or 3. And I know they battled over on SmackDown as well. But they work really well together, and they're surprisingly good together. I mean, Sheamus really holds his own against somebody that's, younger and quicker and maybe slightly more skilled in some ways as Matt Riddle. But Sheamus, they have chemistry or something. They fit together well. It was a hard-hitting match, and they just beat the shit out of each other. Great stuff. In the end, Matt Riddle catches Sheamus with a quick roll-up, so it wasn't even like a definitive finish or a submission or anything like that. Basically out-wrestled Sheamus in the end there, picked up the win. And Sheamus, of course, was surprised and pissed off. And Matt Riddle now advances to next week. And I just think that, him potentially winning might just be fun. If I was WWE, I would just say, TLC, we don't even need it. We don't even need this pay-per-view. So if you're going to have a pay-per-view that, to me, in the grand scheme of things, is meaningless because it's between now and, it's the one, like, little roadblock between now and WrestleMania season, just get out of the way. Do some fun matches. Give us Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre just for funsies. I think it'll be fun. Have McIntyre beat him. Nothing wrong with that. The match would probably be good. But we'll see. We'll talk about that next week. Like we said, Strowman could still be a wild card in this. After that, we got the announcement backstage that the sole survivor of the women's team, the talented and skilled Lana, is getting a title shot tonight against Asuka. And this freaked me out because I'm like, they're making a story out of this Lana shit. Some fans hated the sole survivor thing last night with her not doing anything. I loved it. And kind of the same thing with the WWE title. The thought of her winning the WWE women's title terrifies me, and I don't want to see it. However, if she did, I wouldn't hate that either. I think it would be so fun just to watch that. And just so ridiculous. It would be, it would be on the level of a David Arquette type of thing. And it would be a good moment for her. Now, with Asuka, she's not going to be able to beat her clean. But, if there's some shenanigans going on and she steals the title and she is actually women's champion, and that ties into the table storyline and the Chronicle on the network and everything going on. And us, getting to know Lana a little bit more on a personal level. It seems like what they've been doing with her lately on TV and stuff would just be a trip. I don't think it would be we've had some tough champions on Raw. I mean, we went from Ronda to Becky to Asuka, now to Lana. That would, one of these things is not like the other type of thing, but I'm all about having fun, and I'm all about fuck it, and just do it. If you want to do it, do it. It wouldn't last long. Lana's not holding this belt to WrestleMania or anything. She would win it, and it would be much like, she'd probably last less time than Leon Ruff is going to last as the North American champion. So it would be fast, and it would be a joke, and it would be a good way just for her to get it, and I don't know, and who knows. But luckily, that didn't happen. We'll talk about that match later on. But first, we had a Firefly Funhouse segment. This was good. We got another new character introduced that lasted all of 6 minutes, or 6 seconds, I should say, and that is the Friendship Frog. They introduced the Friendship Frog, and he's sitting there, and Bray and Alexa are talking a little bit about Nikki Cross, and that's when Bray Wyatt whispers something in Alexa's ear, and then the lights kind of start flickering dark, and she opens her eyes. She's got those spooky eyes, and then it just goes completely dark, and she grabs, I don't even know what she had. What did she have? She had something, and she just starts bludgeoning the fuck out of the frog, splattering him everywhere, killing the Friendship Frog. Just saying that sentence out loud cracks me up. After that, the lights come back on, and they then have a very touching moment of silence for the Friendship Frog. They even run a video package for the Friendship Frog, and that was it. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. If they can be this high writing this shit, why can't they write goofy shit for some of these other matches? That was strange, but fun Firefly Funhouse segment nonetheless. After that is when we got the women's title match, Asuka defending against Lana. Asuka, of course, dropped her match clean to Sasha last night, which did surprise me and slightly bummed me out. But again, they're really pushing Sasha right now, so I get it. And it's a big win for her, really big win for her. So at the end of the day, I'll live. But here, I was like, oh my God, if Lana wins, part of me will be laughing, part of me will be crying. I put on Twitter that I'll buy an abandoned school bus and just live in it if she wins, because that would be crazy. And then right before the match starts, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler make their way down to the ring. And then I really started thinking it was going to happen. I'm like, man, if they interfere here and actually help randomly Lana win the title, I'm going to shit my pants. But luckily they didn't. They wound up, Shayna and Nia both attacked Asuka on the outside of the ring, causing a disqualification. And as Lana and Asuka are leaving, they're kind of now side by side in the aisleway there. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax challenged them to a tag team match right then and there. So the two ladies that just battled for the title are now teaming up to face the women's tag team champions. I thought they were going to make this a title match. When they were challenging them, I'm like, look, ladies, if you want to be so tough, put your damn belts on the line. And then Lana and Asuka can win the tags together, and that would be better, I think, for a lot of most fans, because if Lana were to win the title, everybody would just be pooping in their hands and smearing on their fucking computer screen. They'd be going nuts. So maybe this is a better option. Maybe have Lana hold the tag team titles as the inferior member of a team, with Asuka kind of doing all the work. So I think they should have put the belts on the line. Since they didn't put them on the line, that told me 1,000,000% that Asuka and Lana were going to be winning this match because the titles were not on the line. So Lana, was getting killed throughout most of the match. She finally did hot tag Asuka in, but they got their hands back on Lana later on the outside. Nia Jax has got Lana like up against the announce table, so you think she's going to put her through that again. She goes to tackle her. Lana moves, and Nia goes flying over the table. Just rolls right off and lands on the ground. That was a pretty funny looking spot. That's got Shayna Baszler all distracted in the ring, and Asuka comes up from behind her, rolls her up, and gets the pin and wins the match for Lana and Asuka. So we'll see if this leads to a rematch, next week for the titles or something, and they might actually put the tag titles on Asuka and Lana. Again, why not? Why is that so stupidly unacceptable? Have you watched wrestling lately? Jesus, we've seen a lot dumber shit. So I'd be fine with that. I was never a big fan of the Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax team anyway. So I'd be cool with doing that again and having some upset win, and Lana can actually be a champion while Asuka does all the ass kicking in the ring. We'll see. Next up, we had the backstage segment with Riddle and MVP, which was funny. Riddle just kind of comes moseying up. I mean, they're so different. I mean, MVP and Matt Riddle are about as opposite as you can get. And MVP's sitting there all cool and everything, and Riddle came so close to getting him to crack. It was so funny. He says he's got all these big, he goes, you guys invest a lot and everything, and I got all these great ideas, like what's better than pizza and what's better than yogurt, and then we can make pizza yogurt or some shit. So he wants pizza yogurt. I don't know about y'all, but pizza yogurt sounds fucking delicious. Oh my God. Maybe a little ranch on there too. Pizza yogurt. Excellent idea, Matt Riddle. You're a genius. He calls MVP a bro, which MVP responds and says, I'm not your bro. And Riddle just goes, aw. It's just so fucking funny. That was good stuff. So that makes me think, again, it's kind of like the Strowman thing. They're planting some sort of seed there. They wouldn't just randomly have Riddle and MVP talk to each other backstage if nothing's going to happen down the road with this. So maybe this is their way of getting Riddle out of that triple threat situation next week. Maybe he rubs them the wrong way. They beat the shit out of him in the locker room. And then Strowman finds his way back into the match and adds himself to the triple threat and wins it, and then faces Drew McIntyre. I wouldn't entirely hate that. I know if Strowman came in and won, everybody would be like, oh, it sucks, Strowman again or whatever. But you got to remember, like I said earlier, whoever Drew faces at TLC, Drew will beat. He's not dropping this belt again, at least right now. So at least not by the end of the year. So he's beating whoever he faces. Whoever he faces, he's beating, or at least retaining the title. So if he's got to beat someone, I don't mind with him putting down Strowman's dumbass with the Claymore and pinning him. Totally cool with that. So we'll see what happens next week with all that nonsense. We had our second triple threat match up next. This was an interesting one. Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley. Like on paper, I was like, wow, first time ever for these guys. This should be just a meaty beef fight, here between these guys. And I was rooting for Lashley. I thought Lashley, maybe has put his time in a little bit more than Keith Lee has. And I know they want to push Keith Lee big and push him strong. But I want to see the same thing for Bobby Lashley. And I think they could have done a clean finish here. They're such pussies with this stuff. I think they could have done a clean finish here without diminishing either guy. I think Keith Lee could have afforded to get beat by Bobby Lashley. Maybe not necessarily with full Nelson and a tap out, but, get put down, power slam, something like that. Bobby Lashley gets a pin. Keith Lee kicks out just a little bit too late type of thing where he beats him, but it's not like a squash. I don't think that would have mattered at all, and it would have been a big win for Bobby Lashley. But on the other side of that coin, I can understand not wanting to beat Bobby Lashley right now either, because like I said, I'm kind of on his bandwagon right now. So if they really want to put Keith Lee over and they want to put him in the triple threat next week, you got to advance him here without beating Bobby Lashley at the same time. So that's kind of what they did in the finish here. The match was pretty good between them. It picked up a lot of strength, a lot of power moves, a lot of shoulder tackles, and a lot of heavy hitting. Real scary spot on the outside right before they went to commercial break. Lashley actually hoists up on his shoulders like an F5 position Keith Lee and has him up, and it looks like he's going to ram him, like run him into the ring post. But I think his legs gave out on him, and Keith Lee's a big bastard. And right as Lashley was getting to the ring post, he kind of buckled and collapsed and fell into the ring post and kind of accomplished what he needed to accomplish. But I think he smashed his head on there because right after that they went to commercial, they came back and he's got just a gash like right on the side of his forehead. So he probably, that's all LED, like that sharp plastic shit. So he probably hit his head and just scraped it right across the the little pores in the LED shit. So that looked kind of bad. So he was busted open. In the end, he locks on the full Nelson on Keith Lee. He kind of overpowers him, though, turns the tables, and that's when MVP decides to kind of save the day, jump in the ring, attack Keith Lee, getting Bobby Lashley DQ'd. So at least Bobby Lashley didn't take a spirit palm and a pin. I understand some people wanted a clean finish in that, and I did too, but I think I only wanted a clean finish if Lashley were to beat Keith Lee. I like Lashley more than Keith Lee. So I think I'd rather have him be the one to get the clean victory there. Until then, I'm really not into seeing Lashley really beat at all. I want him to have a good, healthy U.S. title run. So Lee now advances. He's in the triple threat with Riddle next week to take on the winner of Randy Orton and AJ Styles, which would be our main event. The only advertised match we really had tonight throughout the day was Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. And this was all, been set up the last few weeks where Nikki's been trying to get through to her friend and try to, turn her back to the good side and all that. She can't get through. She's even been attacked by Alexa last week. And they finally have their one-on-one match. Nikki is interviewed and she talks about, how she's very conflicted and she doesn't want to have to do what she's going to do, but she's going to beat the Fiend out of Alexa Bliss and then kind of, slap her silly and set her straight, basically, is what Nikki Cross's motivation here and game plan here is in this match. They get in the ring, match starts, and Nikki goes through the whole thing, seems very conflicted, but she's still doing what she has to do in there. She puts down Alexa with a move. She kind of falls down to the mat hard and she just starts crying. And she starts crying. She's like, ow, and what are you doing to me? And Nikki, of course, has remorse because she still cares about Alexa very much. And you knew that Alexa was suckering her in, kind of playing possum or tricking Nikki into doing something here. So she cries and she stands up and she gets Nikki Cross to give her a hug, and then she just hits her with like a face slam or I don't know what it's called, like a half-ass Sister Abigail. What's it called when you just fall backwards and smash somebody's face in the ground? She kind of hit her with one of those and pinned her and got the win. Of course, she's smiling and laughing, and she's up to her dirty tricks. She's hilarious. She even had a hilarious pin going like that on Nikki Cross, which I had to use in the thumbnail here. I thought it was hilarious. She, like we've said the last 2 or 3 weeks on the Raw reviews, we've really been singing the praises of Alexa. It's so funny how some of the best characters in WWE falls ass backwards into them. I don't think this was the initial intent with I thought Alexa was just supposed to be used as a piece to that Braun Strowman Fiend stuff. But then when they kind of rolled with it a little bit, they saw, like, oh, this actually works. I don't think it intended to be like what it is. And she has completely changed her game. She is the most entertaining female in the WWE, and she's doing an excellent job. I mean, she's fitting this crazy gimmick much like Mark Calloway fit the Undertaker. She just fits right into it. And if I was ever going to envision a character like this in my head, in the women's division, Alexa would be like way down on my list of like ones that I think would fit it well. I would be thinking people like Ruby Riott or Liv Morgan or Nikki Cross even, not Alexa Bliss. So the fact that she's doing this and she's so hilarious, and you can see this thing evolving, as it goes. Because, she's kind of been evolving slowly into this like childlike, type of persona where at first, she was a little bit more subdued, a little bit more, ladylike or adult or I suppose, or mature or whatever. And then she's slowly, like last week was so brilliant when she was being held back, trying to get at Nikki Cross and the Fiend's music play or the Funhouse music plays. And she just lights up. That's just good stuff. So they're doing well here with this. And I just hope they keep it up. And I hope it continues for as long as you can. I mean, something like this obviously is going to have a shelf life. You can't, or Alexa can't be this person for 3 years or anything. But I hope they get as much out of it as they can because Alexa's doing great work right now. So I would think that this could eventually, when you think about the situation with Asuka, I predicted to maybe see Rhea Ripley tonight. I thought she might come out and maybe challenge Asuka, be the next challenger in front of Asuka. But Asuka doesn't really have one right now. She worked with Lana, Baszler, and Nia. I don't know. They're tag team champions right now, so it doesn't look like either one of them are in direct contendership for the title. So when you have a woman that's as hot as her, in terms of storyline and what she's doing and stuff, put the belt on her. Give me the Fiend showing up. I want to see the Fiend and Asuka come face to face. That might be interesting. Asuka's crazy. So if they do something like they did with the main event tonight with Randy Orton and AJ, which we'll talk about in a minute, where the Fiend kind of appeared and rose up behind the ropes on the apron. You do that to Asuka, and she's like, oh, maybe Asuka spits the mist in the Fiend's face. That's what they should do. They should have the Fiend show up. She spits the mist in the Fiend's face, but Alexa catches her with a roll up from behind and pins her and wins the women's title. I'd do that. I'd put the women's title with Alexa. Her having that in the Funhouse would be fun. They do all sorts of crazy shit with that. And I'm not sure if too many women wrestlers are going to be brave enough to get in the ring with this batshit crazy girl. So we'll see. She's doing a lot with the Funhouse right now, so the argument could be made. Wrestling fans love to make this argument. She doesn't need the title. Yeah, she does. I don't really agree with that. But she is doing enough right now to where technically you don't have to put it on her. But I would. Fuck it. Who else are you going to put it on? After that was the main event. Well, actually, after that, we had a Metallica Undertaker tribute. They played the whole thing from last night. So that was cool to see again. I gave you guys all my thoughts on the Undertaker tribute last night. I was a little bit, just kind of lukewarm to it because I feel like we've seen the Undertaker say goodbye 3 times. I did all my emotional stuff at WrestleMania 33. To me, that was quite the moment. I still wish it would have just ended there because it was so symbolic. It was a match that wasn't even a title match. WWE gave the Undertaker the main event. The symbolic removal of the hat and gloves and shit, putting it in the ring and descending through the ramp. The fans, young, old, male, female, bawled their eyes out that night. And then he came back. So, we've had this happen several times, and I just, what we saw last night wasn't any more special than anything we've already ever seen. And it's still not going to be the last time we see him because he's going to have a Hall of Fame induction coming up too. So we have another goodbye at some point down the road as well for The Undertaker. So, that was what it was last night, but they replayed a little bit of that. I also did not, because I'm very distracted when I'm watching pay-per-views. I'm making notes. I'm getting the stream ready. And I didn't realize that there's a new Broken Skull Sessions. I'm dumb. I was seeing people mentioning it in the chat last night. Oh, Broken Skull Sessions was really good. I'm like, yeah, I saw it a couple weeks ago. It was very good. I had no idea there's a part 2. They probably hammered that home and mentioned it on Survivor Series last night 27 times, and somehow I missed it all 27 times. So I plan on watching that very soon, and as soon as I do, I'll give you guys thoughts on it because apparently it was really good, and they spent a couple hours and they drank a little bit more too. So I'll be interested to watch that whole thing. But from what you guys have told me and informed me about on social media, it's fantastic. So I cannot wait to watch that. And I don't know how I missed it, how I wasn't aware that was on last night because I would have watched it. That brings us to the main event of Monday Night Raw. Randy Orton versus AJ Styles in the qualifying match. Winner gets the final spot in the triple threat next week to see who faces Drew McIntyre, or McInFart, I should say. How good does Randy Orton look? This guy does not age. Seems like he cut his hair a little bit shorter now. He looks a little bit like 2009 Randy Orton. He was a little leaner back then, but the dude does not age. He's 40-something. He looks 30. Looks amazing. Pretty good match here with AJ Styles. This is a WrestleMania rematch, correct? Didn't they work on the big show? I think they did. I kind of had a feeling here because of where they're going with Randy Orton that AJ was going to advance here, so I was not surprised about the Fiend appearance and interjecting himself here. Randy Orton finds himself on the outside of the ring. This was great. Finds himself on the outside of the ring. The lights go out, and you hear the Fiend screeches, and the Fiend from behind him just kind of peers up behind the barricade, and Randy Orton sees him, and then lights come on. He's looking for him, and he just kind of disappeared. He then gets back in the ring, starts going through more offense, hits the draping DDT thing on AJ Styles, trying to win the match, and that's when the lights go out again. This time Orton's in the corner, and the Fiend rises up, kind of like how they did the Keith Lee thing in NXT, where he kind of came up from the ropes right over somebody's shoulder. They kind of did that with the Fiend really close up with a freaky mask. Orton turns around and actually gets spooked. I like that Orton kind of backed up like that. Because I think this is an intriguing feud because Randy Orton is so sadistic and he doesn't give a fuck, and he doesn't be seen. Nobody can like kind of out mind game him, when it comes to, really getting to someone. He knows what to do. This is a guy that's punted Stephanie and fucking Linda and shit. He don't care. So what's to stop him from knocking little Miss Bliss's head off into the 4th row of the Thunder fucking Dome? Nothing. So I think this could be interesting and it could be fun, especially with these two. This is a much more intriguing now, I even think, than when Orton joined the Wyatt family, because that was all weird to me, because you knew the whole time, even when he joined him, it was kind of cool when he joined, but you knew it was so temporary. You knew exactly what they were going to do. Orton is just biding his time. Bray got the better of him in the mind game, so this is Orton's only way of beating him is to join him, which maybe he does again. Like, do you think if the Fiend keeps getting the better of Orton up front, that maybe Orton will join the Funhouse? He doesn't seem like a Funhouse guy. But, if you get Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss all in that Funhouse together, there could be some weird shit. Maybe Randy Orton can be his 2002 version with the blue trunks and everything. I don't know. That's far-fetched. I don't think they'd totally rehash that, but I think this can be a lot better than the last time they feuded in that really kind of a letdown match they had at WrestleMania. So, we'll see. I'm interested in that. And if they book this match for TLC, this is not the type of match that needs to be like a tables match or something. It needs just to be a straight-up match. I suppose it could be a TLC match, but that would be weird. There's so much you can do with a feud like this that I don't think it needs a gimmick match. That's what I hate about these gimmick pay-per-views, is they stand in your way. There's no reason for for Orton and the Fiend to wrestle in a TLC match, but they might just make it one because that's what the pay-per-view is. I think that would be good and fun and shit. I just don't necessarily need to see it. There's enough going on there to where just make it a match. Make it a fun match of mind games. Anyway, after the Fiend appearance and he rises up behind Randy Orton, he gets spooked. Lights come back on. AJ is ready to pounce. He jumps on the ropes, nails Randy Orton with a perfect, phenomenal forearm, and gets the win. So that sets up next week. Riddle and AJ Styles and Keith Lee in a triple threat. Winner will face Drew McIntyre. Like I said, let me know who you think is going to win that triple threat next week. My money is on AJ or Matt Riddle. I think it feels like WWE would probably put AJ in the situation before Riddle, but like I said earlier, have some fun with a December pay-per-view. It's a throwaway pay-per-view. Who cares who his opponent is? And I maybe don't want to see Keith Lee. I think I want to see possibly Keith Lee not win this, because we've seen McIntyre and Keith Lee a couple of times already, and they're friends, and that can only go so far. So I have no interest in seeing that match right now. And like I said, whoever Drew faces, he beats. So that's another reason why I don't think it needs to be Keith Lee. Keep him strong. Don't worry about beating him right now. What do y'all think? Pretty low audience for a post-Survivor Series Raw. Can you guys do me a favor? Smash that thumbs up button for me, because this won't be a terribly long review. We're going to be getting out of here because it has been a long weekend of streaming here on the channel. I've got a Beyond the Mat review coming up Thanksgiving weekend on the channel, so keep a lookout for that. And I'm not sure if the Thanksgiving holiday is going to affect my podcast schedule. I don't really think so. I'll be up here Saturday as usual for the Winged Eagle. And yeah, that shouldn't affect it at all. And I'll probably shoot for the Beyond the Mat maybe Sunday or something like that. So that's the plan for the week. Oh, The Fiend versus Jeff Hardy. Oh, WWE fan 22. Thank you for $5 more. I appreciate that. Good mic work. Do you think they should hold off putting The Undertaker into the Hall of Fame until fans can be in attendance? Maybe. They couldn't really hold off last night, because I saw a lot of people saying, why did they hold this off for fans? It was about the date. To me, that was what was so special. It was the 30-year anniversary to the day. That's kind of where it had to be regardless, so they kind of sacrificed it there by doing that whole thing in the Thunderdome. But with Hall of Fame, maybe by the time we get to April, there's a way for them to have some people in the building. I'm hoping that they either postpone WrestleMania or move the whole thing to Florida, and where they can have some people there. But I think I would probably put him in the Hall of Fame. Just do it, and I said last night that they're in a perfect position here to really tribute him when in any other year they really wouldn't be able to in this particular way. They have a chance here to make Undertaker a one-man class. I think they should, because you've got an entire class from last year that hasn't gone in yet. All those guys, Batista and Davey Boy, Liger, they're all just sitting there. They haven't gone in. So if you take last year's class and induct them on the same show as the one-man class of 2021, that would make an excellent Hall of Fame special. And it would immortalize The Undertaker like Andre, because Andre was the first member of the Hall of Fame. He went in once, and then I think a year later they did the ceremony where they had, pushed a bunch of guys in. And then they did it again in 1994 where they knocked out half of the damn legends that ever existed, all went in during that 2004 class. So I think that would be awesome because the COVID, the pandemic has found themselves in a position where they can make him a one-man class and still have a show to put on. Because you can't have a one-man Hall of Fame and then have this shit on the USA Network or put it on the network as a special or sell tickets to the event. It's going to be impossible to do. So I think you do them both. Or you keep this year's class on the back burner for even longer, and this year's Hall of Fame is simply just a 1-hour special, a 1-hour tribute to the Undertaker with maybe a virtual acceptance speech or something like that, or maybe even a Thunderdome speech, and just do it once, and he still goes in as a one-man class, and you just keep it, just do an hour-long show footage of his greatest matches and interviews, and just chronicle his career and just do that, and that's it. So I think one or the other, it should be something like that. But if they hold off on the Hall of Fame this year too, they got to decide that soon, because right around January, Royal Rumble time, right after Royal Rumble, is usually when the Hall of Fame induction announcements start. So WWE's got to know ahead of time, which they probably don't, what they're going to do, and then it's up to them if they want to start announcing a new class or not. But I kind of think they're not going to. I don't think they're going to be able to. You can't add 7 more guys to the 7 you haven't put in yet. There's really no way to do that. So I think this year Undertaker goes it alone, because it would almost be an insult if he didn't go in. Think of the other legends: Shawn Michaels, Edge, Eddie after he died. The minute their careers were over, Hall of Fame immediately. How can Undertaker not be that guy? If anybody is a first balloter, it's him. So that's my votes for Hall of Fame. I didn't bring up Maddie. Marcus, you want to talk about Natty? Let's talk about Natalya. What's your favorite thing about Natalya? Have you guys ever seen her on Total Divas and whatever the hell it is? Let's talk all about Natalya just to piss off Marcus. I'm just kidding. I'm not a fan of Natalya either. Yeah, we'll see. I saw some projections where they're talking May, by the time enough vaccine can be distributed to where, things can return to somewhat normalcy, maybe by the time we get to the summer. I think that's now finally an optimistic option, where before there was so many unknowns and we didn't really see a light at the tunnel. Now we see a light, but it's faint. But we could be getting there, even though our numbers are rising and we're the dumbest country in the fucking world. I still think, with the vaccine and everything, this is a pretty good experiment too, just to see how, humans react. Of course, our country embarrassed themselves, but in terms of the world, on a global perspective, how we handle a pandemic it's gonna happen again. Hopefully not in our lifetimes, but I think what wipes out humans is probably gonna be some deadly virus. Right now, we're lucky that COVID isn't as deadly as some others can be. And if some super virus comes along that kills you in a day, and that starts spreading at the rate that COVID does, oh shit. So let's just say, for example, we get to the summer and there's a vaccine and there's enough distributed to where 1/3 of the population has gotten it. That's only a year and a half from, and that's not bad. A year and a half is not really bad for humanity to kind of come together and tackle this shit, get under control, and wipe it out. That's at least a little bit encouraging that we have a really smart people that can work on this type of stuff, and doctors and scientists and bioengineers and shit like that can create medicine to save us and shit. But, I would think summer would be nice. I love summer. I felt like we missed this one. I spent most of the summer in my house or doing random jobs at work. That was it. Ryan, is that your suggestion or has that been announced? I can't imagine them announcing that a month from now. But Lana and Asuka versus Shayna and Nia table match at TLC. I mentioned the possibility of them wrestling at TLC earlier on when we talked about that match. My problem with that is that TLC is on December 20th. That's a month away. So that's a lot of shenanigans. So basically that's going to give us one-on-one matches with the tag teams facing each other on Raw leading up to that, and then probably something else. It's a long way to drag that out. So I don't know, but they might. kind of feels like they might put Lana and Asuka together, and I can certainly tolerate Lana being a tag team champion a lot more than world champion. So if they do that, like I said with the Riddle McIntyre possibility, why not? It's the worst that can happen. Thoughts on WWE's new series Icons? I don't know what that is. That new show on the network? No idea. Yokozuna, RVD, and Beth Phoenix? Okay. Thanks, Kevin Smith. I have a saying, I ain't gonna lie to be your friend. I think you could and frankly should write for any promotion. Any promotion. Maybe. I definitely wouldn't want to write for WWE. The minute Stephanie talked to me like a bitch, I would be out of there. I'd tear shit up on my way out. I'd grab a printer, take it out in a field, beat it like they do in Office Space. Icons is their new docu-series. Okay. I have the WWE Network. I've been paying for it ever since February of 2014, and sometimes I'm completely clueless as to what's on there. All right, Icon. That's good. Gives me something to watch. And I'm pulling it up now. There's the Broken Skull sessions. Yeah, 2 hours, 1 minute. Cheers and beer. There's probably some great stories. Because that's the thing about Undertaker. You know, he's never done shoot interviews. He's never done kayfabe commentaries. You know, I mean, I've hours and hours of shoot interview footage from every wrestler in the fucking world. We've never seen him come down or sit down and tell stories before. And he has just got a fountain of stories and knowledge in his head that he's never been able to share before. And the first sessions was really good. So this one, I'm really curious to hear what he talks about. Somebody did tell me that he brought up the WrestleMania 14 thing because he's there doing the interview with Shawn's opponent that year. And where he said, you know, he had to sit at Gorilla and make sure that Shawn did what he had to do so he didn't have to walk out there and beat the shit out of him. Apparently Shawn heard and asked him, he goes, were you really going to beat me up if I didn't drop the title to Steve? And something like that. So I'm really curious just to hear all of that. It's probably great stuff. And if you've watched it and there's any other good tidbits and juicy stuff, hit us with it in the chat here because I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, Icons. I'll have to check that out. Good. I haven't seen the Lana Chronicle shit either. The last thing I watched on the network was the Brothers of Destruction documentary, The Sit Down with Them, which was amazing. And then prior to that, I had watched the Paul Bearer thing. But I haven't watched anything else other than that. There we go. Oh, okay. So it's not on there yet. Thank you, Transferring Heat. So it was advertised last night. Episodes are coming in 2021 for the Icon series. Okay. So I got a little bit of time before I had to work on watching that. Kevin, you had WWE and thought better of it. I just don't think I cannot stand being told what to do or talked down to or patronized or condescended to, anything like that. And it just seems like that's the way everybody is there. Everybody talks to you like you're a fucking moron, and I wouldn't be able to handle it. Like, I'm not stupid, you know? Like, don't talk to me like that. It's just a personal thing with me. I have a very hard time with authority. I can be told what to do. I can be given direction. Just don't. I'm like Vincent in Pulp Fiction, where he gets mad at Harvey Keitel. He goes, "A please would be nice." I'm kind of like that. Don't bark orders at me, motherfucker. I'm a grown man. Nope, and I didn't watch Taker on Hot Ones either. I don't like that show. I've not watched. There's something uncomfortable. My girlfriend asked me about this the other night. She said, we should watch that. And for some reason, I don't know why, it's one of those things I don't like watching, just people just eating and chewing and dripping saliva and snot. I just can't watch it. Like, I don't want to hear somebody talk when they're eating the hottest wings in the world. That just sounds gross. I'm just like that. If I can hear you chew, I am going to plan your murder. Like, I don't want that around me. I hate that sound. So I think that's why I always avoid the Hot Ones episodes. But if it's good, I'll watch it, and I'll do it for Taker because he deserves it. Ooh, that's interesting, Ryan. During the interview, Taker was given a choice between RVD and Flair at WrestleMania 18. Oh, wow. And he chose Flair, huh? That was probably the better match in hindsight. I mean, if I'm Undertaker and I know I'm going over and my streak is continuing no matter who I face, Ric Flair might look a little bit better in the record books than RVD. I think the RVD match would have been better. But they did what they could with the Flair match, the way he attacked David Flair and attacked Arn Anderson, I think, too. Undertaker was a shithead in that feud. And then, Rick, the tiring old man, actually takes Taker to the limit and really went balls out in that match and did everything he could, and in the end lost to Taker. So I guess I'm fine with the choice. I think Undertaker chose wisely there. But in terms of in the ring, RVD would have given him a much better match. But the story was still there to where I was satisfied. Yeah, so especially since I worked in a restaurant, and I've had, when I was younger, because my dues, they're paid in full. I don't have to answer to anybody anymore. But, when I was younger, I had a couple of prick bosses, and now that I'm in a management position, I'm not that way. I'm like, I just treat people like they're normal people. I'll tell you what to do, and I'll be stern with you if I have to be. But for the most part, I'm never going to look down on you like you're below me. People who do that, I think, should have immediate fist to the jaw. Just it's a personal pet peeve of mine. Or what is it that George Carlin says? I don't have pet peeves. I have major psychotic fucking hatreds, and that's one of them for me. Oh, yeah. Talked more about Brock not being the right guy at Mania 30. Said it should have been Roman. Maybe. I mean, was Roman ready? Was Roman ready at 30? What did they do? Have a tag? And he was bubbling. I remember that same year, by the time they got to Money in the Bank and Cena won, everybody was pissed because they thought it should be Roman. So I think Roman was like 6 months to a year away from being a high enough caliber opponent to actually beat him. I think. But if it would have been timed correctly, or if he beat Brock at 30 and then lost to Roman at 31, talk about some heat, man. Let's say he beats Brock at WrestleMania. That victory alone is enough to propel Undertaker into title contention. But since he's the Undertaker, he takes a long time off. The Brock match wore him out. So he takes the rest of the summer off and then turns up maybe around Survivor Series time to cash in on that title shot that he's been promised. Wins the title at Survivor Series. And we get one of those nostalgia runs like we got with Hogan, like we got with Goldberg, and guys like that where he holds and The Rock, where he holds the title into WrestleMania 31 and drops it to Roman Reigns. That would be like a double torch passing. Not only are you ending the streak, you're passing the title, you're retiring possibly even. I mean, that should have been his last match. And Roman, and imagine if it was this Roman. Imagine if you could set up that scenario, but it's the Roman we see today instead of the Roman of 2014. Oh, man. There would be some objects flying into the ring from the audience. It would be a repeat of the NWO, man. That's interesting. I cannot wait to hear that interview because I've always been curious about, him and Brock. He talked a little bit about it in the Brothers of Destruction. He even said that day when I got to the arena, I was going over. I remember doing my predictions for that pay-per-view and not spending much time on the match. I'm like, it's the streak. You're not ending the streak. Taker wins. Didn't give it a second thought. Even though, looking back, it makes a lot of sense. Man, Brock really shouldn't have lost that match either, though. You got to remember, the streak shouldn't have ended, but Brock, I already felt, was losing too much at that point already. He lost the year before to Triple fucking H, man. Triple H put him over just so he could get his big win back at WrestleMania, and plus he lost his debut match to John Cena. I think he needed to win that match too. So Taker's right. I think they should have just had a completely different opponent in there with him. Especially if he was going to beat him. But it just sucks, man. What a night. What if The Undertaker never turned face against Jake at WrestleMania 8? That face turn did come sooner than I expected. I did not. I remember watching the main event that night when he held the chair from Savage. It was like my brain couldn't comprehend. I didn't even consider that a heel turn. I was basically like, what the fuck is The Undertaker doing? Like, to me, it didn't even seem possible that he would turn babyface. He's just not a babyface character. So the fact that he did, and then they did the funeral parlor thing, which was good. They actually found a way for 15-year-old Greg to have sympathy for a character like The Undertaker when Jake slammed his hand in the casket. And then he's dragging the casket, trying to get to Jake. That was like great shit, man. So it was a babyface turn that was well done, but did surprise me. Yeah, well, that was the urban legend. The Taker just sat right back there, and right at the monitor and just waited. And he goes, if this fucker doesn't put him over, he thinks he's getting out of here alive. And Taker that would have been great. Could you imagine what a missed opportunity that was? Part of me wishes that Shawn would have been a little shit. Because I know back then Taker and Austin did not like Shawn. They probably loved him in the ring, but they did not like him personally. It wasn't until Shawn's second run that he really patched things up, I think, with The Undertaker, and they became close and stuff. But if Shawn would have tried some shit, I would have laughed my ass off to watch Undertaker come out there, just knock his head off, pull up his lifeless body, toss it in the ring for Austin to pin. That would have been great. They had a dumpster there from the previous match. You could have wheeled out the dumpster match from Cactus and then Terry's match with the Outlaws, opened it up, tossed Shawn's ass in it, and sent his ass down to WCW with the rest of those dinosaurs, like he said on Raw that time. Marcus Metcalf, thanks, brother, for the $5. Undertaker talks about the time he caught fire and Elimination Chamber, and he tells a funny story about Teddy Long and Mae Young in Wrestler's Court. Can't wait to hear that. I'm glad he's opening up and talking about that pyro accident. That was gnarly. He could have, and the type of match he had to be in, too, where you just had to stand there, the pain. You guys ever had a burn? I burned the shit out of myself, in my life, cooking, and I work in the restaurant industry. So, of course, I got battle scars all over the place. They are so painful, and to burn up your whole body like that, they were handing him water bottles in the pods just so he could dump it on himself. He had to work that whole match just with God knows what kind of degree burns all down the side of his body. Oh, the pain. I couldn't imagine. Interested to hear that. I wonder how pissed he was at the pyro. I guess it was pyro guy's fault, right? It wasn't Vince's fault. I did know about the Harley Race team, and I've seen footage of the Brody match. Because that's interesting, man. That was right in the nick of time. Brody was dead the same year I think the match happened. I think that match with Taker happened just months before his murder. So Taker caught him right at the very end. But could you imagine like a prime Taker and a prime Brody? Give me like 93 Taker, 87 Brody. Make that in one of them WWE video games. That would be fun. I'd pay big money for that. Big money. I won't spoil it, but The Undertaker is cool. You can spoil shit. I don't care about being spoiled. Either way, that's going to be a fascinating listen to watch that whole thing. So, yeah, exactly, Mystery. Imagine if Undertaker writes a book. I was riveted with Bret Hart's book. I could not put it down. Hands down my favorite wrestling book. And I've read some good ones. Jericho's had some good ones. Foley's had some good ones. And Bob Holly's had some good ones. But Bret Hart was just so good because it was so detailed. And he spent so much time, remembering and chronicling and documenting stuff. And I think Undertaker, the book he could fill would be similar, just as good as a Foley or Bret book, or a Jericho book based on the stories and the miles he's put on his career and all the things he's witnessed and experienced. Can only imagine. Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah, cool. I'm so glad he goes into detail about that situation, Ryan. That's good. No, that's cool. What, Taker lied to Shawn, said he wasn't going to beat him up? Yeah. He knew he was. Shawn was a little bastard, man. And Shawn had balls, even though he's a weak little prick who never won a fight in his life. You've got to be pretty brave to strut around with this cocky, my shit don't stink attitude in a locker room full of people that most of them are twice your size and could beat the fuck out of you if they wanted to. So he was pretty strong. I love the story about, I heard one time, I can't remember who told this. I guess the Harris boys cornered him and got a hold of him one night because he was a prick to them or whatever. And they squashed their beef and everything with Shawn, but I think they fucking held him up, choked him up against the wall while the other one watched the door or something. So, there's a lot of people that, Shawn's lucky that it was not more than just one Marine whipping his ass at a nightclub and it wasn't an entire locker room full of wrestlers, because he was, he had some protection with the Clique, but once Nash and Hall were gone, who was, I guess their job would just be at stake, because if anybody besides Bret were to literally beat the shit out of Shawn Michaels backstage, they would probably be fired, or Bret or Taker anyway. So, yeah, nobody ever really dealt with Shawn, but I've given Shawn credit too. He came back in 2002. I appreciated that. I feel like his religious stuff is slightly transparent, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I do not care at all. what you need to turn to make you a better person is crazy. Whatever crazy thing it is, as long as you come out of it a better person, you kind of see the error of your ways and you change for the better. And Shawn really did. His old personality comes out. Lots of people told stories about that. 2002, 3, 4, backstage cursing out Jericho or getting mad about a match, that hot-tempered Shawn. But overall, he's still a much better person. He's not hooked on the alcohol and drugs anymore. He is a family man with responsibilities. He's not wild. And, look at him now. Now he's training the next generation instead of being in an early grave. And to me, that's a success story. And I think Shawn, basically had 2 Hall of Fame careers. He's the only guy capable of doing that. Having 1 Hall of Fame career, retiring for 4 years, coming back and have a 2nd Hall of Fame career. Had Shawn only had one of those runs, if he didn't have the late run or if he didn't have the early run, it's still a Hall of Fame career. And that's why he's the fucking Michael Jordan, man. So there's a big part of me that's really proud of Shawn, just for turning it around, even though I think he's a fucking asshole. Happy for him because he was too good. I would hate for him to have a memory, disparaging memory like Chris Benoit, where you can never remember the great moments and matches that he gave us because he had so many good ones and he's a big part of WWE. So had he had a different outcome and he didn't find Rebecca, and he didn't find the Lord or whatever the fuck, and he just continued on those ways, and then in like 2001 OD'd and died, he'd be immortalized today, of course, but it'd be a similar situation, maybe like a Brian Pillman, which is just so fucking sad. So the fact that he came back and, made up, so to speak, for the other years. And I always gave him credit for that too, because if you remember, when he came back in 2002, he won the title right away. I think that was WWE's way. That's just what they do. Hogan comes back, here's the title. They literally throw it at him. So you knew they were going to put the title on Shawn, but it was only for a month. Dropped it to Triple H or whatever in the ladder match, and that was it. And then the rest of his run, he never held the title. He wrestled 9 years or 8 years in his second run, held the title for a month, and that was it. But was still a main event guy. Still main evented WrestleManias, even though he never won the title. And I think that was his way of like kind of giving back. Like, I'm sorry for not wanting to put people over or not wanting to lay down or refusing to work with guys or whatever. I'm going to show them I can come back and do business. And he put guys over left and right, man. So kind of appreciated that too from him. Hey, Chris Ludecke, what's going on, man? Appreciate the $5. While the Drew McInFart screw up was funny, I can see Vince killing the joke because it said he likes bathroom humor. And I actually recommended that earlier on the podcast. As I was laughing, I'm like, man, if Drew McIntyre's career for any reason goes downhill from here, we're going to look at this night as the beginning of it when Adam Pearce cursed him forever by calling him Drew McInFart. And that's what we all refer to him now as. So what I was hoping is because WWE beats everything to death. You see, even now they're doing the replay of Matt Riddle's flip-flops. I'm like, come on. God, you guys. So the fact that they just hammer everything home so hard and just beat everything to death, I can see them latching on to something like this Drew McInFart thing, and they will immediately make it old. By next week, we'll be sick of it. And that might be Drew McIntyre's best chance to get out from underneath this terrible botch that Adam Pearce is responsible for. So I kind of hope WWE kills it, because that's what they do. They kill everything. Everything that's funny, good, special, interesting, they completely destroy because they literally think their fan base, is a bunch of 7-year-olds with oatmeal for brains. And we're not. We're smart motherfuckers. So we'll see what happens with the McInFart. Stay tuned for all your McInFart news right here. Good Micro Commentaries. Batista's book. Haven't read Batista's book. Probably never will. Love Batista, though. But I hate reading, actually. I hate to say it. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, Wesley, I was talking about world titles. Yeah, HBK and Cena were tag champs. Shawn, I think, was tag champs more than once. Did him and Triple H win the belts, too? Yeah, he won some tags, but like in terms of being the world champion, he wasn't, and that was pretty incredible given the caliber of star Shawn Michaels was to come back. And, I mean, you could even throw out that 02 run. It was nothing. His 02 run was just like, here, welcome back. Here's the title, and give it back to us in 4 weeks. If you don't count that, he came back and worked that entire career, nearly a decade, without ever winning a world title or politicking for one or anything like that. And maybe that was his little internal way of making amends with some of the throats that he clearly stepped on in the 90s. That might not be it. It might just be the way it all went, that they felt they never had to put the title on Shawn. But I almost think it might have been maybe as the request of him. You're like, look, I want to just come back and give back. I feel like an asshole for the way I was. So let me work my ass off. I'll work WrestleManias, big paydays, give me big matches, but I don't need the title. Let's reserve the title for people that, you know, need to be elevated and all that stuff. I don't know if that's what he said. It just feels like you don't purposely do something like that unless you meant to. You know, it's not like they're, oh shit, we forgot to put the title on Shawn or something like that. You know, I feel like even at the end there, you know, maybe in his final year, maybe give him a run. You know, it would have been cool. I don't know if it was wrestling enough for then, but you could have done an Undertaker retirement 11 years ago. You could have had Shawn win the title in 2010, like at the Royal Rumble, and then go into the rematch with Taker. And this time he puts his career on the line and the title. Taker beats him and wins the title. And then maybe Taker holds the title, hold your breath here, for an entire year. And the following year at WrestleMania, it would have been 28 then, he goes into the ring and drops it to somebody. And I think that year he faced Edge. Or no. Oh, no, I'm thinking of a 2012. Excuse me. I don't know what the fuck he did in 2012. Oh, the Triple H match, the Hell in the Cell. So you put him there and then have him drop the belt there, and then that's his retirement. You know, Shawn 1 year, Taker the next. I don't know. Rebooking things a decade ago can kind of sometimes be fun. Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? You'll be in San Diego on New Year's Eve. Where are you going to be in San Diego? Is there parties going on? I'm curious how New Year's Eve is going to work with the curfew and shit. It is going to fuck shit up. Based on my work, I don't know what I'm doing yet for New Year's Eve. Not sure. God, it's such a bummer. San Diego's fun New Year's Eve. There's so much to do. You can go any number of places, any parts of town, any one of the beaches. You can go downtown, have a great time. Not this year, man. Oh, they wanted to put the title on Shawn back in 2007. I wanted him to beat Cena. I thought that would have been cool. But at the same time, I wasn't surprised that Cena won because I felt like Shawn was a fill-in for Triple H, because Triple H, I think, was penciled into that spot, if I'm not mistaken, because Cena beat him at 22. And I think the plan was, because in the 22 match, Triple H was cheered heavily. So I think the plan was for them to come full circle and have Triple H beat him for the belt at 23. And in hindsight, it's probably better that they didn't do that, because that really added to Cena's legacy of just being, you know, he was the first guy in a while that was like retaining titles at WrestleMania. You hadn't seen that since the Hogan and Diesel days. So for Cena to come around and do that multiple years in a row, 22 and 23. Did he drop the belt to 24 perhaps? Maybe. You know, but to retain the title 2 years in a row like that at WrestleMania, only Hogan's done that. So it's probably better for the legacy of Cena. Oh, gas lamp is fun. When there's not a pandemic. Hopefully it'll be fun with you, or for you. Adam Pearce versus Drew McInFart one-off match. I mean, if Adam Pearce can take a bump and he's medically cleared, he can get in there and just do a squash to Drew. Beat the farts right out of him, man. I don't know how Shawn and the Clique would function back then. You take Soma's mixed with PP. Oh, yeah. They're all lucky, some of them. Yeah, I knew Shawn. Yeah, I was about to say Shawn had to have won the tag straps with Hunter. You would just think just those two would want that. I do vaguely remember that. Was that the RKO stuff when they feuded with them, or were the tag titles a part of that? I don't remember. Well, another thing that I have a very vague, I don't remember how it happened, but I know that Piper and Flair won the tag titles on Raw in like 2005 or something, or whenever that was. To me, that was cool. Like Piper and Flair go so far back, and just bizarre, you know, especially that I sat in the audience and watched Roddy Piper's retirement match in 1987, and 25 years later, he is winning tag gold with Ric Flair. Is pretty incredible and pretty crazy. Oh, yeah, Orton was champ at 24. And then he retained. That was triple threat, right? Cena show, maybe? Or was that the next year? I don't remember. No, it's like 29.98. What the hell's that, Barry? 2009 or 10. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the DX Resurrection. I thought they were too... Oh, they won at Taboo Tuesday. That's right. I thought the Resurrection was just a little too silly. Sometimes it was fun, but DX was more raw, you know, in the early days where it was much more produced and almost like cartoony, where it was, you know, a lot of the jokes and the humor, I felt most of it was ad-libbed in like the 97, 98 year, where the Resurrection, it was so scripted. They worked so hard to get all these funny lines, the sex humor and poo-poo humor, and you know, they did the thing where they're barbecuing and then there's like hot girls and Triple H squeezes the mustard and it goes everywhere, like shit like that. You know, the Vince McMahon loves cock. That was kind of funny. But it had a much more edgy, raw type of vibe to it in 1997 and 1998, in my mind. So I was never a huge fan. And then don't even get me started on glow sticks. I'm anti-glow stick. I'm against them. Oh. Piper got cancer. They dropped the titles. Oh, yeah. Cyber Sunday 06. Who'd they beat? I don't remember this. I remember them being champions, but I don't remember who they beat. I didn't even remember it was at Cyber Sunday or Taboo Tuesday. Little People's Court. I do remember that. My God. I was just watching a few weeks back. We had watched just for fun. We watched the third Jackass movie. And there's a sketch in there where they got Wee Man and he's with a little girlfriend and they're at a bar and they're being filmed, and then like through the door this like dude in a wife beater, another little guy in a wife beater comes in, and apparently he's the girlfriend's boyfriend. He's like, yo, what the fuck, man, what are you doing with my girl? And Wee Man's like, she's with me tonight, pal. And then they start fighting, and then little cops run in to arrest everybody, and then some guys get hurt, and then right after the cops take the bad guys away, the guys that are hurt, little paramedics show up and put them on stretchers, and this whole scene, and everybody in the bar just standing there like, what's going on? I don't know what made me thought of that. I guess Little People's Court made me think of that. Okay, so the doctor found that on Piper prior to the title dropping? That's surprising. He still went into the match. Oh, they beat... Ew, that's who they beat? Jericho? Get out of here. For reals? They had to have had help. Oh, now it's Spirit Squad. Spirit Squad, I can believe. Beaten Jericho? Or maybe they lost to Jericho. They beat Spirit Squad. Okay. I get it. The little stretcher for Hornswoggle at MSG. Yeah, they had Swoggle on AEW. What's his name when he's not in WWE? Is he Swoggle or does he go by something else? And I know he was doing the Talking Shop of Mania shows, and he's appeared a couple times. But he was in the diaper in the Hangover sketch on Dynamite. Man, is Vince cool with his son working in AEW? Okay, Barry, you're going to get me to review a 2006 Raw with DX someday? Yeah, pick a good one. Barry's got a doozy of a video sponsoring coming up in December. Divas Undressed 2002. Y'all ever seen that shit? I'm going to review it. 45 minutes of cringy sexualization of women coming up with Jerry Lawler on commentary for one thing, and they got all the wrestlers in the audience and they're all drooling over him and stuff. It's going to be fun. I've still only watched 5 minutes of it, but I can't wait to watch the rest. And Barry actually wants me to do a full review on that. So that's coming. Week 1 or 2 in December, max. You'll get it way before TLC. Lost to Rated RKO. Okay, thank you. Thank you for filling in my my history knowledge here, guys, because some of this recent shit I don't remember. You couldn't believe how stacked Stephanie was when she came back as SmackDown GM run. Yeah, she was almost out of uniform. Okay, yeah, I have very vague recollection of Jericho stuff, too. I talked about it a little bit in the Undertaker video I did last week about his Survivor Series matches, and he had to face them in a triple threat. And I remember at the time hating the pairing. It just Show looked out of place. He was wearing a weird outfit. It was blue. Facial hair was different. He just didn't seem like the same Big Show to me. And it seemed like a team that was slapped together, and I hated it. Later on, we find out when you read Jericho's book and stuff that he loved teaming with Big Show, and it was like his favorite tag team opponent. So Jericho is the one that changed my mind on that. I'm like, hey, you know what? Maybe if I ever see Jericho stuff again, I'll give it a chance, because I remember at the time not giving a shit about it at all, but apparently Jericho had a blast working with him. So that's good. K-Dog's Kennel, how are you, man? I am doing wonderful. Rico was a part of Divas Undressed. Somebody, if anybody knows the status, we're thinking about Rico. I think he was sick or something. Heard something bad about Rico in the recent past. Wherever he's doing, we're thinking about him. Oh, yeah, Jericho wasn't even in WWE in 2006. Exactly. What are we talking about here? Are you guys just messing with me? Are you guys trying to fill my head with alternative facts? So I sound like an idiot next time I say, remember in 2006 when Jericho lost to DX? And then everybody on Twitter can be like, Greg, you are stupid. Yeah, the Jericho's return, we all knew that, man, in 2007. I remember I came out here that week with my friends. One of my best friends back home, family also lives here in San Diego. So we took a big trip out here together in 07, right after these big fires that just tore through San Diego. Even in my parents' neighborhood, like 300 homes, like 100 of them burned. Like, it was crazy. And I came out here right after that, and it was all coinciding with the Jericho return. I remember all that happening. Even bought his book. That was when I think it was Undisputed came out. Or no, it was Lion's Tail came out. And then he came back to WWE, but they were running those vignettes and the coding and all that. You knew it was Jericho. So it was kind of a flat return. He came back, confronted Randy Orton, tried to be the old 2001 Jericho, and it just wasn't landing, the same way. Plus, he had the short hair now. He'd been gone for 2 years. Wasn't until he turned heel, put the suit on, and just completely 180'd his character. I think that's when Jericho really etched his name into, like, history as somebody that's going to be remembered and created a great legacy for himself, because he did it as two different personas. And that's hard to do. Triple H, believe it or not, is a lot like that. Think about the differences, between his blue blood gimmick into the childish sophomore humor of DX into being the cerebral assassin. That's quite the evolution there. He deserves credit for that, being able to pull that off. Not everybody can. Okay, so he did have cancer. That's what I couldn't remember what it was. I just knew it wasn't good. It just made me trigger a memory about reading about that. Well, that's good. I'm glad he's doing well. Doing a lot with Kenny Bolin. I'm not a fan of Kenny Bolin. He's just loud and obnoxious. Just loud. He's loud motherfuckers screaming all the time. Oh, yeah. Thank you for that, Ryan. Now I'm remembering, because I remember the Edge and Jericho team, and then Edge got the Achilles, so Show kind of came in to replace him. Oh, yeah. I do remember that now. I guess I totally forgot how that came about. Thank you for that. All right. So anyway, I think that's going to be a wrap for tonight. We went about an hour and a half here. There's not much else to talk about. Pretty low audience as well, but I thank you guys for hanging out tonight. And please smash the thumbs up button on your way out the door. If anything crazy happens during the week, I'll come up here for a news brief or something, but given that it's the Thanksgiving holiday here in the States, I'm not expecting anything too crazy to be going down, so most likely you'll hear from me next on Saturday for the podcast. Until then, subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at GoodMikeWork, because if you want my thoughts throughout the week on wrestling shit, you'll find it over there. You guys take care. Thanks for hanging out tonight, and have a